Thanks very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and to share. When Liam gave me that invitation, my mind just went everywhere. You know, the teachers that I've connected with in my life and those that inspired me. And the first thought that I had was, oh my goodness, what stories would they tell, right? I'm a local boy, and so there's a good probability that there's some of you out there who taught me. I think I saw some faces in the room. And then I thought, geez, that maybe limits what stories I can tell about them too. Boy, this is tough. This is getting harder and harder. But in the end, there were three things that stuck out for me that really came to mind. And it boils down to a phone call, acne, and an apple. Stay with me, really it does. And I think each one of them demonstrates that this connection between teacher and student, this connection between people, can be built in unexpected ways. And I think often when we think about inspiring people, we think about that big aha moment, the fantastic speech, right? Everybody wants to be Robin Williams. Of course you do. But I think that my experience with teachers are that they connected with me and in unlikely ways. So starting with the phone call, in grade 5, I guess it would have been. I was a little bit of a latchkey kid. My dad would get up and he'd be off to work, and it would be my job to get myself off to school. And it was not bad. It was not bad. I went to Swanhaven School, and we lived right close to Decoy Armories. So that's a pretty short walk. I should be able to make that, right? But I didn't always. I didn't always make it on time. And my teacher at the time recognized after a while that, boy, Bill isn't going to make it. Just on his own, he's not getting here before the bell. And the best evidence of that was when he made a phone call one morning. I was in bed and laying there, cozy as ever, cozy as could be. And the phone rings. And I roll over and I pick it up. It says, "Hello, Bill. This is your wake-up call." And I slammed down the phone and I threw on some clothes and I stomped my way across the playground into the school, and I walked into the classroom and I took the chair off of my desk and I slammed it down on the ground and I sat there and I scowled. But that phone call demonstrated care. There was a teacher that cared about me as a person. And it was small, right? This was a small gesture, really. I don't know if you could get a student's phone number at home today. I don't know if you could do that. But that teacher cared enough about me as a person to say, you know what, I'm going to give him a call. He shouldn't have had to have done that, but he cared about me as much as a person as a student. And so he put in that effort. So that's always stuck with me. The second was a little bit later on in my school career, and that's around acne, which is like the bane of every junior high student's life. Am I right? Absolutely. And I don't know that I had it any worse than anybody else. I sure felt like I did. I felt like I was the only pizza-faced kid in the class. And it impacted my self-confidence, right? It does for all of us. Boy, if I get a pimple today, I'm still self-conscious about it. We sort of see that one pimple, like, oh God, it's the size of Mount Rushmore. It's on the size of it. They're all going to see it. But as a kid in junior high, boy, that's the end of your life, isn't it? Absolute end of your life. There was a substitute teacher that I had one day after class that came up and said, you know, I see you sometimes hiding behind that acne. And you know what? I have acne too. She said, I'm 40 years old and I get acne. You don't have to hide behind that. You don't have to be scared about that. In fact, you can go to the doctor, they can prescribe something, they can help. She gave me a way forward to do that. But what she was really demonstrating to me was vulnerability and the power of vulnerability to connect to another person. That shared experience, that shared self-consciousness, that today as an adult, we all know that when you get a zit, it's the worst thing in the world. We can all say that, but as a kid, you didn't realize that. You thought you were the only one in the world that had that experience. But she connected with me through her vulnerability and saying, I get that too. I'm self-conscious too. Don't be scared. The last one and I'm kind of doing these in a bit of a mixed up order, is about an apple. And so, and I know she's not here, although I know that there's people in the room that don't know her. My grade 3 teacher was Miss Solberg, Ruth at Swanhaven. And she was a great teacher for lots of different reasons. And as a grade 3, I remember Ruth as one of our older teachers in the school. But I still see, and for years afterwards, even as I've been mayor, I'd see Ruth around town. I go, if she was old then, how old is she now? She's a fantastic lady. Those of you who know her know she's an absolutely fantastic lady. But the thing that stuck with me was not the monkey that she would draw on her chalkboard, who was named Chip. Everybody that went to Mrs. Solberg's class knew Chip if you went through her grade 3 class. And it wasn't that. And there was no big speech. There was no big speech where she came up and got us grade 3s inspired about learning, although I'm sure we did. There was no big speech where she told us that we could be self-confident and we could go out into the world. What she did, and I don't believe for an instant that she ever thought that it would be something that the mayor would be speaking about from a stage. She had this thing that she could do. And I don't, honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't remember if she did it all the time or if she might have just done it once. She could take an apple and she could break it in half with her bare hands. She could break the apple in half with her bare hands. Now, in the years since, I've thought about that and thought, how did this little old lady take that apple and tear it apart? And I thought, well, maybe she scored it. She must have used her fingernail and scored the apple around so that she could twist it or something. Why did that apple stick with me? The one little thing. There's one little, maybe insignificant thing. As a grade 3 student, this apple has stuck with me till today. And I remember Mrs. Solberg as a great teacher, not just because of that, but certainly that's the one memory that I'm talking to you about from the stage. So it connected with me. And why? Because it was about wonder. As a young child, this idea that somebody could break an apple in half blew my mind. But it filled me with a sense of wonder about the world. That things that I never would have imagined that somebody could do that, those things are actually possible. And so, in those 3 examples of the apple, the acne, and the phone call, each one of them are small things. Not a single one of them is a Robin Williams moment, although those are fantastic. All of us backstage are going, yeah, we want to get out on the court, we want to go play sports, we want to do something, we're hyped up. Those are fantastic moments. But the connection between human beings happens in millions of different ways, day in and day out. Those 3 things, the apple, the acne, and the phone call, were things that connected with me. And they're things that have stayed with me the entire rest of my life. So as you work with your students, as you interact with people on the street, remember that it's not always the big moments where you connect with people. There's millions of tiny moments where you do it day in and day out. And if there's one last thing that I can say, thank you so much for everything that you do in working with youth and teaching students. Each one of you, honestly, makes other people's lives better. Thank you so much.